So I'm Susan Greenblatt. I'm the Executive Director at Good Life. And our presenter today is Bobbie Gaudette. She is a Realtor at KW Realty. And she is also our Partner of the Month for February. So Bobbie joined us last year as our partner and has joined us again. So we want to thank you for your support again, Bobbie. And I'll let you take it away. I'm going to make you the host. And you should be able to share your screen now.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Susan, and welcome everybody. My intention is to make this as informal as it can be. If you have questions along the way, feel free to ask them. There may be times where your questions are answered in the material, but again, it really is about you and what your needs are and answering any questions that you might have relative to real estate and selling and what that looks like. So we can go ahead and get started. So what have folks heard about the real estate market right now? What have you heard?
Don't burn your fingers.
I like that. I like that.
It's booming.
It is booming. And you know, the interesting thing, it was pretty active. It was very active prior to COVID, and long about mid-March, we really didn't know what was going to happen. You know, there was a lot of predictions in terms of, you know, things just kind of bottoming out and people not being able to buy. And while there was a little bit of a blip, you know, when we first learned about COVID and we were shut down, there were some transactions that fell apart because people lost their jobs at the last minute. It actually has fueled an interest in the real estate market. And part of that is driven by the fact that people can live anywhere they want because they're working from home. They're working remotely. So as long as there's internet access, they can, you know, they can live in Laconia, they can live in Pittsfield, they can live anywhere they want. And what we have found is we actually have more buyers from out of state coming up to New Hampshire. You might have heard that. 60% of all real estate transactions from Concord South have been with people who are moving from out of state. So that definitely, you know, we've always had a contingent of people who come up from the Mass border, you know, and they've settled in Londonderry and Wyndham and Salem and those types of places. But we're seeing it more and more. If you go to any open house, you'll probably notice at least half, if not more, cars have out-of-state license plates. So that's driving a lot of our real estate market. The real estate market across the board has been pretty much, as Amy puts, on fire. And you know, there's a number of different reasons why that is. I will go ahead and start. So can everybody see this?
What?
So you know what? I managed to share my screen, but then I lose everybody. So not sure how to best handle that. Let me see. Technology is always great when it works, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I've got access, right, Susan?
You should be the host now.
Okay.
Just go and double check that went through. Yep, you are the host.
I am the host. All right. Well, I know my camera's still on, but I don't have any split screens or anything. So let me see. No, that's not working. All right. Let me see if I can get out of this here. Not sure if there's any other way for me to share it. Oh, maybe now. Okay, here we go.
There we go.
There it is.
All right, we're getting there. Okay. How about now, folks?
Yep, good.
Perfect. All right. So the information that I like to talk about certainly is relative to folks over the age of 50. I'm actually what's called a seniors real estate specialist, which means I've taken additional training and education to work effectively with seniors. I happen to be in that age bracket. I am a card-carrying member of AARP. So understand a lot of the different
where is it?
aspects. So one of the things that we know is that
I can hear her, I just can't
search
see.
for homes online. Can everybody hear?
Okay, I'll just listen.
We've got some. Susan, are you able to mute folks or no?
I can't mute anymore. But if you go to the bottom of your screen, if you're on a computer, the mute button is on the bottom left-hand side, and you should be able to hit that to mute yourself. But Bobbie, you should have that capability as well to mute anyone.
Okay. Yeah, I've just got to change the screen view here. But in any event, buyers look online. You know, we've had access to the internet for quite some time. And while most buyers start their search online, about 70% of all buyers end up using the services of a realtor. And that's particularly true of folks who are a little bit older. Millennial buyers make up a big chunk of the market. We actually, one of the reasons why we have an inventory problem now is because many of us in the real estate profession anticipated and projected that people who were of this particular generation, the millennial generation, wouldn't be interested in owning homes. We thought they were going to be renters. And so there wasn't a whole lot of resources or focus on building new homes. A lot of focus was built on providing rental properties, and they surprised us. So they want to buy homes. They're buying homes faster than any other generation. And the thing about millennial buyers is they turnkey homes. You know, back when many of us purchased homes, we looked at homes, we looked for bargains, and we looked at what kind of sweat equity we could put into the home. Everybody, and again, probably remembers going into a home and thinking, well, we could do this, we could do that. Millennials don't do that. They want something ready to go. The market has become very tight, and in fact, it's tighter now than it's ever been for buyers. And we're seeing buyers offer $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 over list price, which is just mind-boggling. But it's the only way that they're finding that they're getting their offers accepted. And last year, when I did this presentation, the average single-family home in Merrimack County is at $280. Now, the average home at this point is $308. That's actually old information. That was at the end of 2020. What we're finding is prices of homes is actually escalating at about probably 3 or 4% a month. So what I tell people is by the time you actually sign your purchase and sales agreement, you've got equity in your home because prices are escalating that quickly. And it's all driven by buyer demand. We have too many buyers for the number of homes that we have on the market. Is that what folks have pretty much heard?
The average going house is $308 these days.
Where?
In New Hampshire.
Actually, in Merrimack County. In New Hampshire, it's $350 because it factors in Rockingham County and Stratford County. The average home in Rockingham County, I believe, is at $460.
Wow.
$500,000. That's your average starter, run-of-the-mill, nothing special home. That's what's happening.
Wow. 360 average.
So one of the things I like to talk about is just some statistics because I think it really tells the story. So this is a look at basically inventory over the past 15 or so years. So if you look at, back when we had another boom back in 2005, 2006, where inventory was. The blue line is condos and the yellow line are single family homes. What we see, if you look at, the past 5, 7, 8, 9 years, inventory has dropped and we're now at a significantly low level. We like to look at in terms of a healthy market is to have 6 months of supply on the market. Right now, we don't even have a month's supply. So peel that back a little bit. If we were to take all the homes on the market currently today and all the buyers who are out there looking for homes today, it would take less than a month to exhaust all of that inventory. That's how slim things are. And what we like to see is about 6 months worth of supply. This shows you the median sales price of homes in New Hampshire. Again, 2006, 2007 was really when things kind of hit. And as you know, if you've been paying attention, prices dropped back in 2009, 10, 11. We had a kind of a bottoming out, and what we would call a market correction. And we are now higher than we've ever been with regard to value. So again, people's homes have never been higher value than they are right now.
Very well.
So this again is just taking a look at the number of homes that are coming on the market. So what I find interesting, and you might find interesting too, is I'll put a question out here. What's the best time to put your home on the market? What do you know to be true?
Spring.
Spring, right. That's what everybody says. They're going to put their house in spring, right? Okay. So that's basically true because we do have the majority of listings come on in spring. So at the top of each one of these, I think people can see my cursor. May. This is May. This is May. This is May. It's always spring, right? Always May. That's when people put their houses on the market. Look what happened during COVID. People did not put their houses on the market. In fact, COVID right here. This is March. This is when things kind of bottomed out because people didn't know. People didn't know what was going to happen. The other issue is people didn't want other people in their homes. You didn't want people traipsing through your house. You didn't know how this thing was transmitted. So people kind of peeled back and stopped either showing their homes, took them off the market, decided not to sell. Maybe the jobs changed. There were certainly some changes, the likes we've never seen, as you can see in that graph. This is just a little snapshot of how many days homes stay on the market. So back 2 years ago, the average home was on the market 81 days before it went under contract. This time in January, so just in a 2 years time frame, it dropped by more than half. So the average home right now is on the market 38 days. Here's what I can tell you. If a house is priced correctly, it won't be on the market 7 days. It won't. We have people receiving 5, 10, 15. I heard an agent received 52 offers on a property last week.
Wow.
2 offers. It's just that tight. This is the percentage of list price that people are receiving for their homes. Again, it's just a demonstration of what's happening in the market. 2 years ago, if you listed your home and you listed it at a fairly competitive price, you were probably going to receive about 97.2% of that sales price for the sale of your home. This represents January of 2021. We are now seeing an average, again, this is an average, of people receiving 100.8% price for their home. And in many cases, it's far greater than that. This is a fun slide. If people purchased a home in 1997, that home today, given the fact that it's been kept up, maybe updated a little bit, no added square footage, no added, special you know, or anything like that, just basically kept up, that house is now worth $308,000. Real estate is a good investment. People want to know about COVID. What are you doing about COVID? And how do you show a home during, COVID? Things have a little bit better. At the very beginning, we weren't even allowed to do open houses, and rightfully so. Switched a little bit, but the state of New Hampshire is pretty clear on what we need to do. And all visitors must wear masks, and we must use hand sanitizer. We're seeing a lot of virtual showings and a lot of virtual tours. About 30% of all transactions were done virtually. So what that means is people were purchasing property without ever seeing it. They never stepped foot in it. 30% of the time. That seems high. I mean, that seems like a high number. We consider is the fact that we've got a whole generation of buyers who virtually, they have grown up with phones. They have grown up with videos. They have grown up in this virtual environment that they're very comfortable with. You and I may gasp at the idea of actually purchasing a home without seeing it. I mean, I know at least initially the thought of purchasing, say a new pair of pants online just freaked me out. It's like, well, wait a minute, try it on and see what it looks like, and all those things. But people are actually purchasing property without seeing it at all. And we're doing a lot of things that people can see the property virtually. So we do 3D tours, we do drone footage so people can see the area. We're making it as easy as possible for people to be able to purchase a home without spending a lot of time, if any time, in your home. A lot of virtual buyer and seller consultations. I will take listings and not even actually go into the home. I can get a sense of what the home is worth by having the seller tell me a little bit about it, showing me around virtually, and I'm getting a good sense of where we're going to be at. Prior to COVID, anybody could come along for a showing. Parents came along, cousins came along, friends of the family came along, and now we limit only the decision makers are allowed to go to showings and in the homes to, again, mitigate some of that contact that you would have having people in and out of the home. The other thing that's switched and changed significantly is the COVID situation has made the tire kickers, or the people who are kind of out on Sunday looking at open houses or whatever, they're gone. They just aren't out there. So the people who are coming through the home are actually serious buyers, and they've probably been out looking for a house for some time. And most of what we're doing today is we aren't even opening the homes up for regular showings. We're just doing an open house on the weekend, one or two, maybe a Saturday and or Sunday. We then, and we just have so much interest and so much demand that we have the luxury of doing that. So again, it cuts down on the number of people that are walking through. All right, so what do? Do you stay in your home? Do you go? And there's always things to consider. One, and I bet everybody here on this call can say this, you have an emotional attachment to your home. It's a place maybe you've raised your children, or maybe it's your dream home. Maybe it's the home you had built. Whatever the case may be, if you've been in your home any length of time, you have an emotional attachment to it. So it's a tough decision to make it. A lot goes into that. Moving is stressful. There's no way around it. Having to go through things, pack things up, make decisions. That is a very stressful particular time in life. And unless you're really, at a point where you feel like it's a good decision, it's a hard decision to make. A lot of people don't want to move because they perceive that they're more independent in their own homes. And, that might be the case. You might be connected to the community. You've been living there 10, 20, 30 years, 40 years in some cases. And the idea of leaving that community is a pretty tough decision to make. Again, you've got that emotional connection to the home and all those memories. But when my parents got to the point where they really couldn't care for their home, and we'd have many discussions with them about moving. And one of the things that my dad would always point out is he couldn't live any place more economically than he lived in his home. It was paid off. He, had made the improvements to the home that he wanted to, and was really living there at a very economical way, and just didn't want to make those, the changes. And there's always the fear of the unknown. It's like, what if you don't like where you're going to go? What if you don't find any place to go? So there's all the things that go into it. I work with a lot of folks who are older, who are transitioning into different types of housing for whatever reason. Just last month, I worked with an individual who retired in Florida. She and her husband retired to the Sunshine State because they wanted to be, number one, to be away from the whole winter thing. They had some relatives who lived in Florida and just felt that it would be a good move. And she lost her husband this year. And between that and the fact that COVID really made her life very isolated, all of her friends in Florida were not socializing. There weren't the activities that were typically available. She decided to move back here. So, it isn't always necessarily people running to warmer states. Sometimes people come back. Maybe it's time to look at a transition because you could be more independent. Or maybe you're looking at retirement and you want to have something that's a little bit more economical. Sometimes people move to connect to a community. I know when my parents finally moved to an independent adult community, they actually had more friends and more connections and more conversations with people than they did when they lived in their single family home in the neighborhood that they were in. Moving requires less care and maintenance of a property, especially if you move from a single family home to perhaps a condo or some other types of older housing. Sometimes the change in our lifestyles, sometimes in our health precipitates a move. I know I've been working with my husband. He's a couple years older than me, but he's approaching retirement. And we've been going through our home and trying to get rid of stuff. And, he's thinking about putting on to like skis from like 30 years ago. And I'm trying to get him to understand we've got a plan for our future life. Our life is not on the ski slopes anymore, honey. I hate to break it. Not anymore. And sometimes there are some economical advantages, like I said, to downsize, to get into something that might be a little bit more manageable to take care of. So where do you go? So you can purchase another single family home. Sometimes people look at purchasing something that's all on the same level, a ranch or something. There are some pretty nice manufactured home communities in the area. I know the individual I just told you about who moved from Florida, she moved into a community where so she's in her own manufactured home. It's double wide. It's like 1,500 square feet. It's got an attached garage. All the snow removal is done for her. All the lawn maintenance is done for her. So she doesn't have to do anything. Just take care of the inside of the home. Those are our options for folks. And we're seeing an awful lot more building of condos or single family homes in 55 and up communities. Those are definitely very popular. Sometimes people decide to rent, either a condo or an apartment. There are, again, many independent living opportunities available for folks, and assisted living communities are available. Sometimes people move in with family, and actually, I think statistically, 1 out of 4 home buyers right now are looking for homes where they can cohabitate with more than one generation, which I think is pretty cool. Other countries do that, other cultures do that. We shifted away from that in this country. It was very much about independence and everybody had to have their own home. And 1 out of 4 people now are actually looking for houses where perhaps their mom and their dad or whomever can come back and live with them. Sometimes older folks go in together and live with other older folks, and that's an option. People do this split between winter and summer. You know, who loves winter? Everybody raise their hand. Not, you know, done with it. You know, the attraction of not having to shovel, you know, what has it been, like every other day, certainly is calling people to the warmer climates. And some people get creative and they move to other countries. It's actually, there's some countries where it's very economical to live, and you know, if you can stand being away from your family, you know, I guess that might be an option. I don't see it as an option for myself, but it is always out there. I told you a little bit about being a seniors real estate specialist. Again, you know, it's a unique set of skills that we have and training. I think I gravitate towards it not only because of my stage in life, but helping my parents through this process. And it was not an easy process. And there was a lot that went into it. So, you know, again, it's important to have somebody align with you who knows what your needs are. If you are thinking about selling your home or just want to know what your home might be worth, it's always a great idea to speak with a realtor. And, you know, a realtor is going to advocate for your interests. And they're really going to be what I call a project manager. They're going to guide you through the whole process so that, you know, there's not a whole lot left to question. They're going to be able to provide you the resources that you need, both before, during, and after the sale of the home. We price and market the home for sale. We negotiate all the offers and coordinate things from start to finish. So I think for many people, it's comforting to know that there's somebody who's, you know, just a phone call away that can help you through the whole process. So one of the things that I talk to folks about is the decluttering, the cleaning, and getting your house ready. You know, if you decide that, hey, you know what, I think in the next year or so, the next 6 months, even in the next couple of years, now is a great time to start looking at things and looking at things through a different lens. You know, I've been doing this cleaning out thing for about 3 months now. I've got, we've been in this house for about 15 years, but I've been married for 42. And, you know, there's a lot that just has not left the home. A lot has come in, but not a lot has left. And I think for a lot of us, we kind of hold on to things. I know I did, because I didn't know if my kids would want things like, you know, some of the wonky clay pots that they made, and, you know, they wouldn't hold water or anything else, but, you know, they made it. So gosh darn it, you put it in a box and put it in the basement, and I'm not sure what was going to happen to it in the basement. But it's liberating that my children are now mostly adults. My youngest is 17, and I'm able to show them things and say, hey, do you want this? And they look at it and like, why the hell did you save that? So out it goes. So decluttering, being able to get through stuff and really kind of pare things down. Developing a plan. You know, what are you going to do? Speaking with family. And a lot of times these things kind of happen concurrently. You know, you might be thinking about it. You might be talking with your family members. If you can start the cleaning out process now and you can get assistance, that's the best time to do it. You know, and that's one of the things that I always try to impress upon my family and my kids and my parents when we went through what we went through is, you know, do it now so you can make the decision now, you know, so you're not forced to make decisions. What do you do with your stuff? I mean, we all collect a lot of stuff. You can always try to sell it at an estate sale. You know, you can donate things. You know, there's all kinds of ways to get rid of stuff. You know, I don't know right now with COVID if places will come in and actually remove your furniture, but there are some nonprofit organizations that will actually come and pick up furniture like beds and bureaus and things like that. I think Families in Transition is still doing it here in this area. Then if you list your home for sale, we sell your home in about 27 minutes, literally, and manage the move, complete the sale, and send you on your way to wherever that might be. So a lot of times older sellers ask me, what about selling it as is? You know, a lot of times people are in a position where they physically cannot do repairs. They may not have the means, the financial means to do the repairs. Maybe it's just too stressful, you know, to have to go through and repair things. By law, if you know that there's anything wrong with the home, you do have to disclose it. That said, you can sell your house as is. And a year ago, my advice to you was different than it is today. We have more offers on homes. We have more buyers putting offers on homes that are not contingent on home inspections. In fact, I was speaking with a home inspector yesterday, and he said he has never been this slow in business. We have all kinds of transactions going on, but he's just not getting phone calls because people are buying houses without having them inspected. Now, you know, as a buyer, that's a whole nother discussion and you know, something to consider. But you as a seller are probably going to be in a better position because buyers are not looking for your home to be inspected. That said, you may have an offer that comes in that you want to accept, and it may require a home inspection. So even though we might advertise the houses as is, it doesn't mean that the buyer can't ask for things to be repaired. You don't have to say yes. You don't have to agree to it. It's just kind of the way things work. And one of the things that I do tell people is if you sell your home as is, you are leaving money on the table. One of the best examples I can give you is a couple of years ago, I was working with a seller who was widowed. She was actually widowed at a pretty young age. I consider young. She was about 41 and had been in the home about 20 years after her husband passed. And she needed a new roof. She needed a new garage door new garage doors. Some of the siding on her home was in disrepair. So we talked about what it would look like if she got those things repaired and what it would look like in terms of money. If she had not gotten a new roof, not gotten the new garage doors, and done a few other things, which cost her about, I think it was about $13,000 and all the things were said and done, she would not have been able to sell her house at the price that she did. She would have actually probably had to sell her house about $30,000 less. So that would have translated into, you know, $17,000 basically left on the table. So whenever possible, if things like that have to happen, it's always in our best interest as sellers to go ahead and make those repairs. One of the things that I do talk with older sellers about, especially if they've been in their house for a long time, is having their home inspected prior to putting it on the market. Again, a year ago, that would probably be my advice. In today's market, unless we think something is really amiss with the home, I would say, you know what? We just have so many buyers that I'm not concerned about it. If there are things that you can fix, definitely get them fixed. Again, the big things. There are opportunities to pay for repairs at closing. We've been able to negotiate that with roofers or chimney folks or whatever, so that if your assets are pretty much tied up in your home, then we can work around that. So again, you know, we talked about decluttering, how important it is. If you can enlist the assistance of folks to help you with that process, albeit, you know, that would be definitely a good time to start would be yesterday. I do want to talk a little bit about putting things on either Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or somewhere online. I actually had a good friend of mine post, and actually she didn't post it. She had her daughter post that she was giving away some desks and some other furniture. And a gentleman showed up to pick that furniture up, and he slipped and fell and had an injury and tried to sue her. So she enlisted the assistance of an attorney, and she actually had no liability because she had her daughter. Her daughter made the post, not her. So for whatever reason, that kind of deflected the liability from her. So you know, I've done it. I've posted, hey, free, come get it. Just want people to be aware that somebody could actually be nefarious and try to bring litigation against you if they, you know, fell and got hurt. Again, just a word of caution. If folks have trusts set up, a lot of times when they do, they get everything changed over. I have seen cases where they forgot to change their deed. So it's important to make sure that your property, if you do have a revocable trust, that you get that changed over at the Registry of Deeds, so that when, and if you do go to sell your property, it's actually in your trust's name and not your name solely. It's always important to consult an attorney on those issues. Homestead rights in New Hampshire, we have what's called homestead rights. So if you are a married individual and your partner either inherits property or has property, they are and can be entitled to what's called homestead rights. So those rights have to be signed off at closing. Again, it's just something to kind of be aware of. If you obtained your property and you were married, you likely have it in what's called joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. So what that means is if something happens to either partner, either spouse, that interest in that property reverts directly and immediately to that living owner or property owner. So you don't need to do anything. You don't need to, you know, have your deed changed at the Registry of Deeds. It just automatically reverts to the living partner. All right. So you sold your home. Now what are you going to do? Hopefully you have a place to go. Capital gains. A lot of times people ask me about capital gains. While I am no accountant, people who sell their homes and receive a profit do have an exclusion of up to $250,000 if you are single and $500,000 if you are married. So what that means is if you sell your home and you don't take that money and reinvest it in property, if there weren't that exemption, you likely would be held accountable for capital gains tax on that. Because of this exemption, you can actually net $250,000 or $500,000 and not have to pay capital gains tax on that. Again, I'm not an accountant, I'm a realtor, and would strongly advise you to get some advice from somebody who knows that stuff. All right, so which come back, people, where I can see you now. Stop screen. Okay, this is what gets really weird here. I assume everybody can still see me. All right. So tons of information. What kinds of questions do you have?
Bobbie, can I ask the awkward question? What do you advise in terms of hiring a real estate agent?
That is a great question. So what I tell people is to click with them. I mean, you want people, you want somebody to help you with this whole process who is going to be empathetic. You don't want to be just another number, you know, and that's, you know, probably the best advice. There are lots of great agents out there, lots of great realtors who they may not have 15, 20, 30 years experience, but they may be a good listener. They may be easy to talk to. You know, one of the things that I think is important is for a realtor to really understand this isn't a transaction for you. You know, for us, you know, we do this all day long. You know, I do 3, 4, 5 transactions a month. You know, I go to those kinds of closings every month. But this is a big deal. You know, this is very important. So I think that, you know, if you invite somebody either into your home or you do it, you know, virtually, it's going to be important for you to feel like, yeah, this person really cares, you know, and I enjoy, you know, talking with this person and they listened. You know, I guess that's the biggest thing too, Amy, is for people to listen. So
Do you have any Yes, excellent. Very good information. Do you have any sense of what the commission situation is now? I mean, it used to be 6% until you died. Now, I mean, are you guys bargaining with commissions as well?
So that's another great question. So there are all kinds of antitrust laws that make it illegal for me to tell you that there's any standard
Right.
commission. There's standard commission. There are, there are brokerages. So for example, Keller Williams. Keller Williams is who employs me.
Mm-hmm.
They have standards about, what's the least amount that we can take for a commission.
Okay. Okay.
But, me as a realtor, I could charge, somebody 8% and somebody else 5%. I can tell you, Amy, without, kind of the smoke and mirrors thing, it is not, we don't see 6% a whole lot anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wondered if the market made a difference in, the way commissions are going.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when you look at the average price of a home, the commission goes up because the average price of the home goes up. So you will find probably if you interview a couple of realtors, they're going to probably be in the same ballpark. And a lot of them do a lot of the same things. If we were in a different market where it was very difficult to sell a home or, it was going to take months, it would be very important for you to know about their marketing plan. What are you going to do to my house? You know what? The most I have to do, Amy, is if I can price your house right, I'll sell your house.
Mm-hmm.
I hire a photographer who comes in and takes great pictures, and and I'm a pretty good writer, so I write this real nice, description up. And it's probably important to note that nobody reads the descriptions; they only look at the pictures, because everybody's doing this on their phones, right? They're scroll. That's all they do. So if you're good at that, then the home will sell. The more important thing is, am I going to be accessible to you as a realtor? Am I going to answer your phone calls? Am I going to answer your questions? Am I going to listen to you? So again, in terms of the commission, there is no set commission.
Got it. I have one more quickie and I'll leave the floor alone. And are there such things as buyer's agents anymore?
Yes. Buyer's agents are still very much utilized in today's market. In fact, in today's market, if you don't have a buyer's agent, you're not getting a house.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. I'd be afraid to go out there alone.
It is, it's a feeding frenzy, really.
Yeah.
I've worked with folks, who've put in 7, 8, 9, 10 offers on properties, and it's just very difficult.
Great. Those were my questions, Bobbie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is the best way to get in touch with you?
So the best way to get in touch with me would be, do you have pen and paper?
I'm ready.
Would be, my phone number is 603 545 5022.
5022?
Correct. Yep. So I think before folks came on the call, I think maybe Regina and I were talking, or maybe it was Amy. So we're hearing all the time about there's no inventory, there's nothing to buy. So if I want to sell my house, why would I sell my house? If I sell my house, I'm going to end up living in my car, which is a very big car. One of the things that we can do, and because the market is so competitive right now, buyers are willing to do this. You can actually, as a seller, sell your home, and part of the conditions of that sale would be that you remain in your home. So you sell your home, you cash out the equity in your home, you put it in the bank, and then you find your house, you find your next home. Now, there's a limitation to that. You know, you can't do that for like 2 years. But most buyers in this market are willing to accept that as a condition because they can't find anything to buy. So that, again, puts you in a very strategic position to purchase your next house.
Now, I'm kind of curious. You mentioned a lot of people were coming from out of state. Is there any particular, other than Massachusetts, which would be typical, are there any other states where you have a lot of people exiting?
Yeah, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and New York.
Well, I can understand New York.
Yeah.
And Connecticut too, yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, so those, you know, those states tend to be kind of our sending states at this point. The other thing that's taken off like it never has in any other time is the second home market. So, you know, not only are we seeing this incredible demand for primary homes, but in New Hampshire, we have a very big second home market, you know, especially Lakes Region North. And the demand for those homes is skyrocketing because people want to get away. You know, they just, if your only source of socialization and, you know, lack of a term, respite is to be outside and be away from people, where are you going to go? You know, you're going to go up north.
Right.
Yeah, you're not going to stay in the city because nothing's happening. You know, restaurants are barely open. There's no entertainment. And people are just, you know, that pretty much when COVID hit, they scrammed, you know, they headed for the hills. So.
For those of us that are thinking of selling and then not sure what, you know, the next purchase is going to be, what about the rental market? That must be just as tight. And I'm assuming that the rental amounts have skyrocketed just like the home sales have. So, you know, what's availability of rentals?
So the availability of rentals, you know, you're right, Linda, the real estate market in general is pretty tough, particularly in this area. It is possible to find a rental. You know, sometimes I work with people who find rentals that are either furnished. There are, you know, several places that are available. Short-term rentals, depending on, you know, how long you were thinking about, you know, being kind of in this limbo state. You know, there are hotels that have, you know, suites. So if you put your stuff in storage, you know, one of the things we were talking about at one of our office meetings today was if you made an extra $70,000 on the sale of your home that you didn't anticipate, that would buy you quite a bit of time at an stay suite and store your stuff. So, you know, I wouldn't tell you that the rental market is great. What I do see is that people who do decide to rent, they do find that housing. They do find alternative housing. If you're looking at renting a single family home, you're probably going to pay at least $2,000 a month.
And one follow-up question. I'm anticipating that there will be a market correction again at some point.
Yes.
And that was part of the thinking of, you know, making that guess about if you're making $70,000, $80,000 above what you think you're going to get for the house and rent for a short period of time, there's a possibility that market's going to correct and you can purchase something at a much lower cost. But, you know, none of us can see the future, but right. Is there a cycle that indicates there might be a correction on the way?
Absolutely. This market can't continue at the pace that it's at. It cannot. It's not sustainable. So we do anticipate there will be a market correction. We don't anticipate it will be the severity of the correction that we saw for 2006 and 7, you know, 5, 6, 7, because that was built on nefarious lending practices. Quite honestly, that all happened. This market has been escalating upward for the past 6, 7 years And it's, you know, partly driven by lower interest rates, demand, people in the housing market that we didn't anticipate would be in the housing market. So there's always a correction. You know, there's always going to be that. It has to happen. We can't continue to gain 25, 30% every year. I mean, this past year was 25%, and we're on pace to outpace that. The market correction, they anticipate, and you know, we got economists who have many more letters after their names than I do, anticipate that we probably won't see it until about 2022. Okay. Probably mid-year. So, you know, we had tremendous demand before the pandemic, but that kind of fueled it. So we have interest rates at 2.5%, 2.25% now. You know, I tell my kids, when we got married, do you guys remember what the interest rate was in like 1980?
Yes.
18%, right?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
My first house.
Yes.
Yeah, ours was in 79. So yeah, I remember.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember they said you'll never see them below 10.
Yeah.
And then you'll never see them below 8. Remember that? So, you know, what's driving a lot of the demand is the fact that it's free money. You know, literally banks are giving away free money. So when there is going to be a market correction, it'll be likely driven by higher interest rates. You know, when I work with buyers and I explain to them, you know, what their payments are going to be, if you have a 2.25% interest rate, that's $225 on every $100,000 you borrow. That's peanuts. Peanuts. You know, compared to when the market was as strong as it was back in 2005, the average interest rate was 6%. That's a big difference.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people, you know, Linda, who are doing exactly what you're doing. Either they're finding temporary housing or they're finding, you know, some sort of intermediary situation where they're just going to kind of hold on to their money. So if you're in a position where you're going to be able to take that equity, and if you can roll it right into a home and not borrow money, then that's a great plan. Are anticipating that you're going to need to borrow, just say a significant amount of money, at least half, then it may not make economic sense to wait, because what's going to drive the correction is the correction or the change in interest rates, if that makes sense.
I just have one more question and I'll give up.
Sure. Oh, yeah, no.
When you mentioned about the millennials and what kind of homes they were looking for, you know, in New Hampshire, we've got a real mix of houses. And I'm talking about those of us that live in the really, really old homes. My house was built in 1791.
Wow.
I'm thinking that's not going to be a draw for a millennial because, you know, I mean, I know certain types of houses are more saleable than others. So what's that look like for New Hampshire when we have such a mix of, you know, like the new modern homes and then the really, really old historic type homes?
Well, there's always, you know, the niche market for older homes. And, you know, if we just take a cross section of buyers, you're going to have more buyers who are interested in newer homes or more, you know, modern or updated homes. You know, it is what it is. That said, because the market is tight, we have people looking at homes and buying homes that they may not have ever considered. So if I'm a buyer and I go into my search saying, you know, perfect example, I met with a young couple and I said, what would be a deal breaker? What would you never, ever, ever want to look at? Well, I don't ever want to own a split level.
Oh yeah.
Levels. Hate them. Okay, great. No split levels. Well, they're first-time home buyers and they're buying close to the Mass border. What's available for sale?
Splits.
Guess what we see every weekend? Split levels. Guess what they don't care about anymore? Split levels. In fact, those are the ones they're putting the offers on.
Okay.
You know, again, you know, in a different market, an older home is going to have more of a niche market, you know, people are interested in. With this inventory dilemma that we have, it really broadens people's ideas about where they want to live and what the ideal home is. So hopefully that helps.
Bobbie, are people building?
People are building, but so some of the things to think about with building. Number one, you know, we have a little bit more land left in New Hampshire. There's a lot of states that, you know, they just don't have the land left. We have a lot of, you know, what I would call like one-offs, you know, like lots here, lots there.
Mm-hmm.
Have a ton of developable property in New Hampshire at this point. When builders develop property, it's a long process. And what we typically see, and actually this is what's happening, we saw housing starts spike for the first time at a rate that we haven't seen, I don't think, ever, because builders have finally caught on. Oh, wait a minute, there's a housing crisis? Maybe I could make some money on this. By the time a builder buys a lot and gets all the permits and does what he or she needs to do to get the property ready to go, they're already a year and a half into the process. So builders are always behind. They're always behind the curve. So when we see new construction go on the market, it won't fly off the shelf the way an existing house will for reasons. A lot of builders require quite a bit of money down. You know, they may want 5-10% down. So the average buyer, you know, especially if they're buying, you know, this is their new first home, they don't have that kind of cash. It takes ability to envision a home on an empty lot. I'll give an example. I tell people I accidentally sold my son's home. He wanted to sell it, and I just happened to be talking to another agent about it, and lo and behold, we sold it. I called him up and I said, hey, can you be out by March 31st? Wait a minute. So we'd been looking at houses and there was nothing, he just couldn't get into anything. New construction appeared interesting to him. Took his wife to see it, and she could not envision a house. It was a lot with a bunch of empty stumps. So I have a hard time. Wait a minute, you want me to buy like this empty lot, and I'm supposed to envision this house on this lot? So for new construction, the down payment can be problematic. The fact that people are buying something they don't see can be problematic. And my clock. The time frame.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever had a house built.
Oh, I once, and I can't believe I survived it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. Exactly. So I tell everybody too, if you're talking about new construction, if they tell you it's going to be ready in 5 months, plan on 10. So
thank you. Somewhere there are realtors acting as advocates for people who decide to build, and they're making a fortune, I bet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Thank you. I didn't mean to hog the floor. Thank you.
No worries. No worries at all. No, they're great questions.
Going back a little, so would it be best if you want to sell your house after living in it 50 years? Paid $18,500 for this house in 1970. I don't remember the interest rate, but
so you have some equity, yeah.
But if you don't have a place to go, and you look at condos that cost $200,000 more than what you're going to sell your house for, you know, what do you do? Find a place before you move, or because
there's a number of different things that you can do. You could sell your home, and like I said, if you you know, sometimes people move in with relatives. Sometimes that's not an option. There are month-to-month rentals that you can look into. You know, quite honestly, what I would be concerned about is just moving your stuff. It's like, you know, moving it to one place, then moving it to another. And, you know, let's be honest. I mean, I'm at an age where I hire people to do that. I'm not doing that. And I'm not letting my husband think he can do it because I know what'll happen afterwards. But it's just very difficult to do. So you might want to look at, you know, renting something that's furnished and just taking your clothes. I'm working with an individual now who is in her upper 70s who sold her single family home, you know, sold it for far, far, far more than she paid for it. And she's purchasing a condo here in Concord in the Vineyards. And she is, she's renting an apartment on a month-to-month basis that's furnished here in Concord. So Martha, in answer to your question, you know, one of the things you could look at is we could look at doing that, sell it to remain in the home until you find something, you know, that you're interested in purchasing. So one of the things that, you know, I want folks to know and understand is, you know, even if you're not deciding today that you want to sell your home, but if you want to have, you know, me or someone come in and look at it and say, hey, you know what, this is what we think it's worth. This is what you could sell it for. You know, these are some things that you might want to consider. I'm always willing to do that. You know, there's absolutely no obligation. I'm not going to browbeat you to sign a listing agreement and make you sell your home, unless you're my kid. And then I'll just sell it and you won't even know. But, you know, it's just gathering information and having the facts, I think, is important for people to make those decisions.
Bobbie, I'm sorry, I have to scoot, but thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Hopefully it was helpful.
It was wonderful.
Yes, it was quite interesting.
Bobbie,
have a good day, everybody.
Could you repeat your phone number again, please?
Sure. It's 603-545-5022.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
This was wonderful. Thank you.
Good.
Very informative.
Good, I'm glad. So now if anybody's talking real estate, you can say, hey, I know some stuff.
And I think,
feel free to call me anytime, folks.
Thank you.
one quick question. Do you give out your email, work email?
I do. If you like,
I'd rather email than call, because you can answer at midnight if you like.
Absolutely. It's B Gaudette, and that's Gaudette, D as in David, ETTE, at kw.com.
Oh, that's easy. Okay, got it.
Thanks. A quick funny story. So I did this presentation last year, and I had 12 folks attend. And about Memorial Day, I get this text message from this phone number I don't recognize, and it says, "Hey, I think we're ready to sell our house. I need you to come." And I wrote back, "Great, I can be there at such and such a time. Who is this?" It was somebody who had gone to the workshop, and you know, it took her 6 months basically, but she was ready. And apparently, I was supposed to know who she was. So we sold her house.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.